Hopefully the sound work. I'm pretty sure it's working now. I switched to a different device. My sound been a little funky for some reason. I don't know why, but it's been a little funky. The lighting doesn't look that great right now, but I think we'll work with this. I'm pretty sure the viewers can see my face pretty clear. But this live is going to be about my time in Ghana, the beautiful West African country of Ghana. Ghana has been doing a lot of promotion of African Americans coming back home. Home, you say, where's home? Well, home is West Africa. That's where we were stolen from. We were stolen from West Africa. We didn't volunteer. Our ancestors rather did not volunteer to come to America. But be that as it may, the great country of Ghana is called its African people to come back. Um, we was taken from Africa and shipped to so many different places, most notably Brazil and then the United States of America, which is houses some of the largest portions of people of African descent there. For me, I heard that call. I read about it, done some research on it. It's been going since the mid 90s, 94. The country's been pushing for African Americans to come back there. And the year return that happened in the late 2010s really culminated in showcasing the effort that the country of Ghana put to bring many African Americans back. People such as Danny Glover, a lot of other famous black celebrities. There's been a lot of promotion of music artists to perform in the country. Most notably, the most recent large festival they had from the late December to January 6th, where they had a lot of hip hop artists such as Kendrick Lamar and so forth there. Really all about pushing the fact that Africans, no matter where you're from, if you're in Australia, if you're in United States of America, Costa Rica, Panama, Brazil, Colombia, if you are of African descent, you are an African, and Africa is your home, and you can come back home. That information really drove me to come back, and so I decided to come back. So upon my arrival at the airport in Accra, I went to my lodging. I went and got settled. Then I got some things squared away, got something to eat. From there, I went to the university. I wanted to see how the people were moving, how they were living, excuse me, how they were doing, how they do their thing. And I linked up with a couple cool brothers there. They showed me around. They showed me the ins and outs of the campus. Met some pretty women there, and then from there, I went to go get cleaned up. Got a haircut and got my hair done at Lexington Mall. Is a mall that actually just opened. Is near the university. So when I got myself taken care of there, one of the things I noticed when I was in Ghana, man, is that the people were so friendly. Like, I mean, really, really polite too. Like when I would talk to the ladies, they would always, after answer me, they would say, please, yes, please. You know, it was such a nice experience to see pleasant, um, feminine sisters. They were really, really approachable and very, very classy people. Um, Another thing I noticed is that the USD went very far in the country. I mean, to get my hair done and get my hair cut, it was only a fraction of what I would pay in the United States, literally. So uh, if you decide to go there, just know that the United States dollar will stretch far there. After I got myself cleaned up, it was time to go out. So I went back, took a shower in my lodging, got something to eat again, and then from there went out to the nightlife. Now the nightlife is really all settled around this area called Osu, which is a district in Accra. This is where they have an assortment of clubs, bars, restaurants, diners, etc. The first club I went to was called Kona. Kona was a two-level club. At the base, they had an area where a lot of local bands perform at, and then the top they had a roof bar where people dance. You had tables, places where you could have your drinks and so forth. Speaking of drinks, the popular beer of choice there was something called the Club. So if you're into trying different beers, which I know that a lot of people are, especially in my time in service, uh, they have a beer there. It's really good. I think it's like a Pins, what kind of beer was it? A really good tasting beer. That's what I'm gonna call it. I don't remember the exact type of beer it was, but it was really good. It was called the Club. I enjoyed it. Um, from there, we had drinks. We had some hookah. Hookah's very popular there in Accra, and dance and so forth. And it was, man, it was a fun time. I mean, remind me of like some of the clubs I went to in Jamaica. I mean, the people, they're not just standing around. They love to dance and really enjoy themselves. I mean, the whole time. I mean, just high energy and just real cool people. From there, I decided to go. Me and the fellows decided to go to another club. They was mentioned to me. It's really popular. It's called the Garage. The Garage is a really popular bar there, bar slash club. Um, you can see in my video, Awkward Nightlife, on posted on this channel, Motivational Movements, where they have a center. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. They have a center area where people can dance at, have drinks on the table. And then from there, they have an area where they can, where a lot of people are able to see, like they have a little area where people can have their booths and so forth. They also offer bottle service there. One of the things I noticed is that, you know, the people were real professional, real top notch. It was a good place to hang out at. And also, they had a number of different assortment of music. They played a lot of hip hop and Afro beats. So it was pretty cool to see the intermixing the music. I noticed when they played the hip hop music, people was all quiet. They didn't know the lyrics, but when they play Afro beats, everybody was singing. But when the hip hop came on, they were just kind of just doing basic two steps. And it was interesting seeing the contrast because they weren't maybe that familiar with the American music as much, unless it was a popular artist like 50 Cent or Chris Brown, things of that nature. But be that as it may, it was a good time. The next day, I went to explore some of the historical aspects of the Ghanaian culture. First, I went to this place called Alima Castle on the Cape Coast, and it was a place where slaves were housed. The tour guide talked about the miserable life that the people lived, where they were chained together. The men were, and they were forced to sleep in their feces. Um, Many of the people would have unspeakable things done to them to break their spirit. The women would be raped by the slave masters there. The governor of the area, he would look down on the women he would want to pick for the night, and he would rape them. And then they were going back down to their quarters. The overseers would have could have their way with the woman. She would get raped multiple times. Um, he talked about how uh, for people that resisted, the warriors that resisted, they would lock them up in dungeons and not feed them and just starve them to death. And then they would drag them out to the center and showcase to the people to let them know, hey, if you don't abide by our rules, this is what happened to you. So it's really disgusting to see that, but it was that was the life there, unfortunately. So um, from there, it was. It was off to the next slave castle. The next tour guide, she was female. She talked about the area where they would have a lot of the people they would die because of just the grueling lifestyle and additional starvation. And the area we were staying on in the dungeon in the bottom was dead slaves bodies just over the years. And then they had a church above the area where they were at, and they were practiced their religion that they so called believed in, um, while people were suffering in misery down the bottom of the castle. It showed when women would resist captivity, they would put them in a little area and a small dungeon area, and then they would force them to carry a metal ball to the center of the castle. And if they didn't carry it there, all the men would have the free reign. The Europeans of, of that area would have the free reign to rape the woman, which it was darn near impossible. It was impossible for the woman to carry the metal ball there, so she would always get raped. And this was designed to break her spirit so that she wouldn't fight their captivity. Then, additionally to that, is she went along with what they said, they would rape her some more. And if she, let's say she had a kid, they would send her and the mulatto child to a suburb, an area away from the castle to be looked after by so-called doctors and religious people. Then once she bore the child, they would send her back to the slave quarters to be sold, to never see her child again. It was a horrible existence what those people lived. And they talked about, similar to in Senegal, how they promoted colorism, uh, which is still promoted within the African American community and the American community at large today. That's why you have so many racial issues, um, where the people are obsessed over skin color, and how this was designed to easily control the people there, and then also to promote a racist caste system, which still goes on to this day. Um, there was a door we went through to overlook the beach area. There was now a beach area, and then when we turned back around, said the door return. That door used to be called a door of no return, where they would put the slaves on the ship and send them off. But that sign of door return was to symbolize the fact that uh, they tried to recess us, but we're still dominant and still here. They wasn't able to get the job done because God rules over everything, not white supremacy. So it was a sovereign experience once again, similar to Senegal, but it was an empowering to see that sign to show that for us and those of the African diaspora that they did so many horrible things to us, but we still survive. I recommend all people of African diaspora, you got to go back there. If you think you have it, you have it bad, especially if you come from a first world country. Why don't you go there and see what some of your ancestors had to deal with, and you might find a lot of things to be grateful for. When I was in the country, I went and did some other tours, most notably the market, the famous market there, where they have blocks upon blocks of different vendors selling various items, art, clothes, food, etc., all kinds of exotic food. So for people that eat meat, you would like it there definitely. Excuse me. Also, the different dashikis they you could go pick out the linen that you would want the dashiki to be in, and then they would take it to the people to sew it, and they would do it that same day. It's really affordable. So once again, the U.S. dollar and the euro is going to stretch very far in that country. So you'll definitely appreciate uh, your financial strength in a country like Ghana. You'll definitely be able to bring a lot of souvenirs back to your homeland. That's for sure, and support the people, which is definitely what you want to do. Also, later on, I went to go see the Black Star. It's a popular monument there in Ghana. This is where this area is where they had the concert in late December to January 6th with a lot of the hip hop artists for the festival that they had there. Then we passed by the stadium, the football stadium, then got something to eat, and we then also went to a couple other famous areas there, like such as the National Theater and so forth. And yeah, it was a pretty good time. Uh, then let's see, I went out again for another night, just enjoy the nightlife and see how that was. A lot of it was centered around Osu district, so that's where the affluent, nice area was there, safe area. So that's where I went to. And then later on, 2 days later, I head back home. Overall, I would say it's a pretty good experience. Got to try some good African food, some fufu and jollof rice, and I know with the fufu they would mix it with a lot of different soups, so that was good to try that out. Overall, I would say, going to Ghana, it was an empowering experience to see a lot of Africans that look similar to a lot of African Americans, as I was told by Tanzanians that they would. You know, the women were very beautiful, very voluptuous, very friendly. Um, Definitely, for those that are looking for a wife, an African wife, Ghana would definitely be a premier place to go. I like the Tanzania though. Kind of fancy Tanzania myself, but definitely a great place to check out, to know your history, know your root, where you come from. It's safe. Considered one of the safer areas in West Africa. They speak English, so that's a plus. So if you come from an English-speaking country, you don't have to worry about a language barrier. Also, in addition to that, it's very mixed. So with other different African groups of people, Nigerians most notably, and then also Liberians, which came there due to civil war conflict many years ago. A lot of Nigerians come there for work and so forth. Overall, pretty cool experience. I saw a lot of people, some downers. I saw to see a lot of people begging there. A lot of, when we come out of the clubs one time, we saw a lot of kids just begging for money. It was a very heartbreaking experience to see, a lot of the kids, they had no home, they had nowhere to go. You saw women doing what they felt they had to do to survive, um, you know, and really, really hard to see that, heartbreaking to see that, but so to speak, rather. But it's, it's life in Africa, in many parts of Africa, many parts of the world, Eastern Europe, Latin America, Southwest Asia. So yeah, it gives you, it makes you, gives you a different perspective on things. A lot of times, you come from Western societies, you maybe think you got it dealing with this, that, and other. Like this is recent issue with the young man with the cops, the evil demonic race soldiers that brutally murdered Tyree Nichols for no reason. He was a good kid, clean cut, clean record, and he was just trying to make it home. His last words was crying to his mom, and it was black guys that did it. And that leads me to another thing I noticed when I was in Ghana. So I always hesitate to come to Ghana, and it's for this, what I'm about to tell you. I told you earlier in the video that they promote a lot of African Americans come there. On one thing I noticed in my travels is, yes, as one would deduce, there's a lot of elitism amongst, let's say, Europeans or people of European descent when they travel. There's also a lot of African Americans. Um, in my country and my community, a lot of African Americans, they feel that they've overcame, particularly if they're educated or they can afford to travel and so forth. Very delusional, right? And when I travel and I deal with these people, they are very nasty, they're very rude, very arrogant. Just like especially with the women. Not only why I bring up women is because there's way more black women I see travel than black men. And, they had this whole Karen kind of mindset, similar to the white women I see, where they always doing the whole fear mongering thing, clutching their purse, or they travel to these black countries, and they hate black people, but they travel to Africa or these black Latin countries, and they're promoting duality and separation and ego and hate and feminism and all this other nonsense. And you know the main goal is to showcase that they're superior over the people. And many of the Latin people told me this of all hues. They mentioned this to me, from the coast side of Costa Rica, the Caribbean side of Costa Rica, to Panama, to Colombia. These people, they'll come there and they'll belittle the people there. The women the women will go and rape the guys. They'll go there for sex tourism. A lot of white women, especially, they go there. And I later found they in the Gambia they do that. A lot of white women like coming to Africa, and I'll talk to the elders and they tell me, yeah, they racist, but they like having sex with the black people. And I noticed that kind of vibe with the African Americans. Like they come there to places like Ghana to be belittle the people. And I would talk to the African, like, you see this, right? Like, yeah, they would tell me, yeah, we look at them as a joke. I mean, they say they clean rooms, and then they save up just to come to Africa and pretend they better than people. I was telling the brothers there in Africa, I don't know why African Americans would do that, because African Americans get treated like shit in America, like treated like second class citizens. So like, who are they trying to fool? But that's the delusion. That's the ego talking. That's the WWE talk and behavior going on. I was in the W.E.B. Du Bois Museum, and it was a group of African Americans, and I simply said hello, like, "Do you work here?" And the woman, started with that attitude thing that the women have, the entitlement. And I said, "Nope, you bring the attitude to Africa too." I like, "You have a nice day." And then this beta black guy, light skinned dude, he comes up to me and says, "Hey, you ain't gonna come at me like that, N word." I'm like, "Brother, I ain't gonna call you N word, but that attitude stuff got to end." And I walked away. And I bring that up because, as African Americans, you can't complain about white people being racist, and then you go to Africa and be racist to black people there. Like, that's stupid. That's non-constructive. Non-constructive. I talked about this in my video that I did a couple of years ago after the George Floyd incident. With the whole dog and pony show where the people marching, destroying people's property, and they complain about racism. But when you go into their stores and you deal with them, the men and the women got an attitude. And you want to do business with them and give them money, but they got an attitude and act like you owe it to them. Nobody owes you anything, man. You don't come. You don't treat people like crap and think you owe something. You don't complain about racism and then you go be racist to other people. It makes good people look bad because you want to have a rotten, stinking attitude. So I bring that up because if you're African American watching this, please do not go to the continent and then start belittling the black people there, bro. That's not cool. It's not cool. It's not good. It promotes duality, and it promotes the same racism that you complain about in the United States of America. So don't do that. um, I talked about earlier that, a lot of people are struggling financially. So you do got to be mindful of different scams that people try to run. So, i.e., if you do decide to ride a taxi, which I don't recommend, I would use the ride sharing services. Always agree on the price, and also money is king there. So people prefer to get paid money as opposed to getting paid through the ride sharing service. So be mindful of that. And even better yet, you can set up your ride service, let's say from the airport, with the hotel you're gonna stay at prior to coming there. Just a pro tip that I recommend using, so that you do not have to deal with complications when you're traveling. Excuse me. Also, as with any other place, try to blend in with the locals, your attire, and so forth. And then I would say also be kind. Be kind to people. You know, I direct this specifically towards like people, the African diaspora. Like, we've been through so much, and we've been trained to hate one another because who has the more hue or who has less hue. We prop up each other based off of who has less hue in their skin, um, which promotes white supremacy that many people complain about, but yet they promote white supremacy within their own groups with the whole worship of light skinned black women, or uh, you know dark skinned guys, or and stuff like that. When we're all humans, we should love one another, and particularly uh, humans of the African diaspora, we should definitely all love one another because of what we've been through and our ancestors been through. So I think the call was to come back to home to be united and be one. So let's be one. Let's shed the ill teachings of Willie Lynch, and let's shed the brown paper bag nonsense. Let's shed the self hate, and let's love one another and come back to build and make the future better for our children than what it was for our ancestors. With love, till next time.